Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today, gonna take a little breather from the wrestling stuff. That's gonna come back on Friday. But today, we're gonna delve into something I haven't delved into in a little while. It's the MCU. And now, I've definitely seen some negative stuff about the MCU lately, about how it's fallen off and not as good as the Infinity Saga. Well, I'm gonna come here and spread a little positivity about the MCU and talk about the things I'm excited to see in the MCU future. And it's definitely quite a list. It's only 10 things, though. There's definitely other things I would like to put on here. But let's get started as number 10. The family bonds of the Fantastic Four. Now, in previous iterations, at least in the movies, you really don't see this much. You don't see like family dinners, car rides in the park, whatever. You don't see those bonding agents that make them feel like a family. In Fan4stick, which is the worst of the Fantastic Four movies, you don't even get a glimpse. It feels like they're, schoolmates put on the class project together and they're meeting for the first time. That's what that movie feels like. In the original movies with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, you do kind of see it, but it's like, Johnny Storm pranking Ben Grimm. You'll have Reed Richards making goo-goo eyes at Sue Storm. You don't really get those nice family moments. And with the Fantastic Four being Marvel's first family, I feel like that's going to be necessary for the MCU. And I feel like they picked a really good guy to play Reed Richards, because it's the same guy who played the Mandalorian in that show. And, he had that relationship with Grogu. So, there's definitely that. So, definitely excited to see that explored more. And then maybe with the extra element of Franklin Richards, who is Reed and Sue's son, which they kind of, I guess they already had in another universe, which is interesting. And considering how powerful Franklin is, yeah, that's going to be interesting too. Number 9, Doctor Doom and Galactus, finally done correctly. Now what I mean is, Doctor Doom isn't going to be just the third wheel in this experiment. He gets involved, he gets into an accident to get his powers. That does not need to happen. What does is to set him up as the perfect bad guy. He's the leader of his own country. He practices magic and science, mixes them, and he's trying to take over to save his mother in hell. That's it. That's all you need. And as for Galactus, in Fantastic Four 2, they made him a cloud. No, that's not good. They didn't even give him a voice line. So I'm going to say this, use as much CGI as you can. At least give me the head. I don't need the full, although with the Celestials, which, if you've seen in the Eternals, that looked awesome. They can finally do Galactus right. And I mean absolutely right. As just the natural, as nature's pretty much vacuum. So, that's definitely something I'm excited for. Number 8, more X-Men besides Wolverine getting some screen time. And what I mean is, for the most part in the X-Men movies, the star of the show has been Wolverine. Other than First Class, which in my opinion, is the best X-Men movie. And in the original trilogy, Scott really only got to talk once in the third movie. No, let's make us care about these characters. And if X-Men 97 proved to us, there's a lot of things you can do with these mutants. Number 4, Doctor Strange 3/Vision Quest. Now these are up in the air because, Doctor Strange 3 hasn't officially been announced. I want to see what he and Clea are doing in the Dark Dimension. Like, if this is, Marvel writing him off for Secret Wars, etc., fine. Whatever. But I do hope we get to see that adventure, because that just sounds like a lot of fun. And we could see Dormammu again, in which I am all for that. As for Vision is interesting, because the last time we saw him was at the end of WandaVision, where he was in the white body, and he flew up into wherever. I want to see him again. Did he end up building his own family like he did in the comics? Is Viv a thing? That's his robot daughter, which... Are we going to see maybe some Ultron programming slip in, which might not be such a bad idea. I think there's things we can do with these characters that could be interesting, but there's a lot up in the air, so we'll see what happens. Number 7. X-Men versus Avengers. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. I also am kind of tired of the hero versus hero trait, but I think with a more government-controlled Avengers, which I think is what we're moving to, I think they're going to end up hunting and fighting the X-Men due to the Sokovia Accords, which I think is still active. But we'll see what happens. I think a interesting twist on the Avengers vs. X-Men comic would be a lot of fun. Number 5, Black Cat. Now, I'm obviously gonna be asked the question, who the heck is Black Cat? Her name is Felicia Hardy. She's a cat burglar. Essentially, she is the Catwoman to Peter Parker's Batman. And I think that's the only real relationship that hasn't really been explored in the Spider-Man movies. Like, we've had Mary Jane Watson, we've had Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man series. Now it's time we go for Black Cat, and with everyone pretty much forgetting who Peter Parker was Spider-Man, I think exploring this relationship would be way more interesting. Number 4, Hercules versus Thor. Now, if you've seen Thor Love and Thunder, first, I apologize, that was not a good movie. But second, at the end credits, we see, not Odin, we see Zeus talking to someone, essentially putting a hit out on Thor. That was his son, Hercules. And obviously in the comics they're big rivals, but eventually Hercules does join the Avengers. So there's a lot of that going around. I want to see them fight. Like, for nothing else, just cause that fight would be awesome. And then eventually they become allies, and maybe Thor introduces, does what Tony Stark did for Spider-Man and bringing him into the Avengers, which I think could be fun. Number 3, Peter Quill's status. Now, at the end of Guardians 3, we saw Peter Quill arrive back on Earth, and he is now having a relationship with his grandfather, who last we saw him was dealing with the death of his daughter, Peter Quill's mother, and his abduction. Although, I guess he thought he ran away. Which, yeah, I guess this relationship is a little strange, maybe? But, we now have Peter Quill on Earth. So does that mean, in the coming threat to the universe, will we see Peter Quill become Star-Lord again and join the Avengers in this fight? Could be a very, very interesting way to go. We'll see what happens. Number 2, Moon Knight's interaction with the rest of the MCU. Now, I know there's been a lot of discourse about Moon Knight because apparently it's a similar story to what was told in the comics that a lot of comic book readers didn't really like. So they're kind of hating on it. So, personally, I liked Moon Knight. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I really enjoyed that show. And I am just waiting for his interactions with the rest of the MCU. Like, you know, Sam Wilkinson's Falcon, who's more of a straight shooter. Meanwhile, Moon Knight is just nuts. Interactions like that is why I really do like the MCU. And at number 1, a soft reboot. So, I think post Secret War, we're going to get a little bit of a reboot to the MCU. Not a full one. I think they're going to bring back some characters. They're going to bring back like Iron Man and Cap if he is dead. Black Widow, etc., etc. So I do think we're going to get a little bit of a reboot. We're going to get maybe some new actors in those positions, and then we're going to see those interactions continue. So I think a soft reboot would be nice. It's not going to be like full stop, like what happened between Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man. I don't think it's going to be that, but I think a soft reset would be nice for the MCU. Alright, that'll do it for me. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and have yourself a very good day. Till next time, Excelsior!